Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, Divas out there. My name is Candace Gish, and I'm the host of Divas That Care Network, and I am just so excited that each and every one of you has tuned in today. We have an amazing show going to be happening. I have an amazing guest, and we're going to be welcoming her to our Diva family. She's actually new to our program, and I'm really excited what she's going to be sharing with all of our listeners today. For any of you that have just tuned in, for the very first time, our show has been running now for over 8 years, and it's because of all of you amazing listeners that we can continue to do this to today. And our movement out there, if you've had a chance to see it, is Divas That Care. So make sure that you check out that. All right, let's get off. Oh my goodness, it's hard to believe it's almost the end of 2018, and it's amazing how fast this year went. And this year we had such amazing guests, people that are really, I always call them our change makers out there that are making a real big difference in the world. And today I'm going to be introducing, as I was saying, a brand new lady. Her name is Joan Sotkin, and I'm very excited to have her. Or I probably said that wrong. I do apologize, Joan.
It's Sotkin. It's Sotkin.
Sotkin.
Yes.
And I'm just excited to have you on as my guest today. So I just want to welcome to our show right now.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love to do this.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm excited. You know, I know that we were supposed to have our show last week. Some of our listeners had been wondering about you, and I thought, you know what? I do apologize. I had been sick for a couple weeks here. I'm just getting back into the show and stuff. And our listeners were really excited to get to know you. I had some amazing listeners that were saying, oh, I had heard about this, and they had kind of were mentioning you. And if you could spend a couple of minutes, Joan, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because we are all dying to get to know you.
Well, don't die to get to know me. live well to get to know me. I've been around for a long time. I've been doing business online for 23 years. And I've had a very varied life. I was a very sick person, physically, emotionally, and financially. And when a doctor told me I could never be healthy, I said, that's not my story. And I was in my 30s. This was a long time ago. And so I've spent a good part of my life learning how the body works, how to fix it, what emotions are that affect both our money and our health. And so I've dived deeply into these things and have learned things that you don't read about. At one point, life wasn't making much sense to me, and I wound up giving everything I owned away and wandering for a number of years, never knowing where my money was coming from, where my food was coming from. If I had nothing to eat, I assumed I was learning how to fast. And my goal was to listen to that inner voice. And although it wasn't a stated goal, I see now as I look back that that's what I was doing. And I've made a lot of decisions in my life that I didn't understand until I look back to see how it affected me and how it was a positive thing. I really believe that whatever we're going through is what we need in order to become who we're becoming. And I've gotten very into brain science now and helping people and myself to understand how to use brain science to make our lives work better. So that's a very short, encapsulated version of my life, and I'd love to go wherever you want to go with that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm just floored when you were saying that, and I just want to kind of go back there because that was a huge leap of faith. I think that you did I don't think a lot of people could do that or would want to do that, or I don't even think they could. And to listen to somebody that has done that is quite inspiring and awing, because I think, okay, I could just give it all up and just go with it. And in my head, I can do that, but I don't know if I could.
Well, first of all, I have no children, and that makes a big difference. I mean, like now, I'm in my late 70s, and as a matter of fact, my 78th birthday is in 2 days, and I'm healthier. I'm healthier now than I have ever been before, but I have the option of taking care of myself and my dog, who doesn't care much about anything, she's happy whatever I do. So I don't have the responsibility that a lot of people have. When I gave everything I owned away, I was coming out of a very unhappy second marriage, and I was born in 1940. So what I was taught was I was supposed to grow up, get married, and have children, and the married thing certainly didn't appeal to me. And I had no idea what life was supposed to be about. And I had gotten into metaphysics and meditation. I started meditating in 1972. And when I was finally diagnosed as hypoglycemic in 1973 and gave up sugar, and I still have not eaten sugar since 1973, I began to understand that there was another way of living. And when I left the husband and moved to the beach in California, but ran out of money, and something had happened where this woman came into my life and she started channeling voices, and I began to see that there really was another dimension to life that I wasn't taught about. And when I got the picture and I got well enough to give everything away and start wandering, even though I was still sick, I was willing to take the chance to not only listen to the inner voice, but to follow what it was saying. Everybody has an inner voice. I don't think it's angels or God. I think it's a part of us that sees more of the big picture. And so because I didn't have anyone else to take care of other than me, I could take that chance and say, okay, what have I got to lose? I'm not going to die. I saw on a health level it was pretty hard to die. And I had family who I knew wouldn't totally abandon me, although they didn't want to know how sick I was. And so I was able to do it. And as I look back, it wasn't an easy thing to do. But as I look back, I see it was the best thing I ever did. And I see that if I follow that inner direction, I won't always get perfect results. But sometimes we have to find out what we're not before we find out what we are. And I just see my life as a journey of learning about different aspects of life and what I can do with it. So for you have a different path. You have kids. You have, responsibilities. And I see myself as kind of a way shower. Let me go travel into other dimensions of consciousness so I can help other people understand what the possibilities are.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. What an exciting life you must have lived. Just listening to you, I'm awe-inspired by the chances you've taken, the journey you've been on, and now you're able to really empower and inspire others out there, because there is so many amazing women and men, but amazing women that are on these journeys of self-discovery. And I think that your life story can really inspire them to, continue on their journey. Because you're right, we all have these journeys that we're on, and sometimes we don't know where it's going to lead us. And I always think that I was always one of those people that, you live life to the fullest each and every day. And it's always been my motto since I was a really young girl. And I've always lived that way, but it's always amazing, because when I look back now, I'm like, I would never have imagined the point that I'm at in my life. But I always took I always grabbed everything with two hands, and I just did it because I believe that, I didn't know where it was going to take me, but I knew it was going to be an adventure.
And that tells me that you have the ability to override the brain signals, because we have this thing in our brain, the amygdala, that's designed to keep us safe. And particularly when there are saber-toothed tigers around. And, and if we see a saber-toothed tiger, we're supposed to get afraid. And the amygdala responds to the unknown. So when you say that, you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, that's where people get stuck, because the amygdala telling them to be afraid, and they don't understand that it's just their brain trying to keep them safe. But in this world, it isn't keeping them safe because it's keeping them from moving forward. And we don't have saber-toothed tigers, so we don't have to worry about what's in the woods. And so to me, the trick is to learn how to override those signals that tell us to be afraid because they aren't helping us at all. And, you know, a lot of people worry about money. That's the main thing people seem to worry about lately. And I decided a long time ago that I didn't want my finances to determine how I feel. When I look at my bank balance, that has nothing to do with the truth of my life. It's just a number. And it's like watching TV now and watching the politics. I love to watch the news, but I watch it as an exercise in detachment. How can I watch the news, still be empathetic, but not take it in as an emotional thing that I have to react to? And so this is what I think that people have to learn, is this idea of empathetic detachment, where you can be in the world, be empathetic, but not have to take anything personally, so that you can watch. It's like a lot of women, a lot of people are coaches now and people in the helping professions. And to me, the secret is to not take responsibility for your clients or customers' outcomes, or for any, your relatives' outcomes. That's their life. And you can be there, you can love them, you can help them, but you're not responsible for their outcomes. And where people get messed up is when they think it's up to them to help the other person change.
Wow. And I just want to say thank you very much for stating that, Joan, because isn't that the truth? It is the hardest thing in the world. And it took me many years to start walking away from unhealthy relationships because, I always felt that, I wanted to help these people, and I realized that I can't help them. They have to help themselves. And when we have somebody like yourself stating that you can't help, and you can't. You really can't help everybody out there, and you have to let them live their journeys. You can be there for their support, but I think it's really hard, and I think more so, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I think more so as women, we tend to want to take in everybody's problems. Men can kind of just, shake it off. It's like, yeah, well, that's not, I don't have to deal with that. And they really can do it. My husband is very good at that. And it's not that he's an amazing man. Like, he has a lot of empathy for people, but he's learned to just shake it off and not let things bother him as much as probably I would in that aspect.
Right, and it's women's nature to nurture and take care of. But we have to learn what your husband has learned is empathetic detachment, how to be there, to listen to people, but to not feel responsible for their outcomes. And one of the problems that we have in this world right now is that people are looking for other people to solve their problems. It's like we want our leaders to fix it for us. And really, the only one that can fix it for us, if anything needs fixing, is us. I think that we've been taught that there's something wrong with us that needs fixing. And what I'm trying to help people understand is there's nothing wrong with you that needs fixing, and you've never done anything wrong. You've just done what you've done, and you can move forward from here. And when you understand how you make decisions, and you understand the brain science behind how you make decisions, then you can say, okay, everything about me is a habit. It's just a habit. And if I don't like my outcomes, then I have to make different decisions. And if I can understand the habits that go into my decision making, then I can logically and consciously make the changes that I have to make.
Oh, I like that. And do you find that some people, it's a struggle to get to that point because they're like, well, you have to help me. And you're basically saying, well, no, you have to do it yourself. And
but I can guide you.
You can guide them. Exactly. It's because
Yes.
I know that there is just so many people, like you were saying, is that they're becoming coaches or doing that. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Like what are your thoughts on that whole process?
Well, there is no good or bad. There's only is what is. And it's up to each of us to decide what we need. And this is where that inner guidance comes in. You get so many messages from people, I can help you, just give me $3,000. I can help you, just give me $3,000. And people are looking for an external answer. Now, I follow certain people online, and there are people who I think have great ideas, and particularly in the business arena, but I understand that I can learn from them and then make my own decisions. And this is the core of what I'm working with now, is helping people understand that their decisions are what determine the outcome of their life stories, and that no one else can fix it. They have to make a different kind of decision, which is not easy, because what happens is that amygdala says, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, so I better tell you it's to be afraid of doing this. That's why people are so afraid of change. So I think it's great to work with other people. I do these webinars where I love groups. I think groups are great because you hear that other people are dealing with the same stuff you are, and that there really is a way out. And when you share what's going on in your head around and around and around and around, and you just get it out, it makes it a whole lot easier to shift it. So I think it's great that there are coaches. However, from my point of view, I mean, I'm coming from an elder's point of view, people in their 20s are going to have a very different way of seeing the world than people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s. So, when I first started doing my podcast 5-6 years ago, I was afraid to say how old I am because everybody's a lot younger than I am. And then I realized, wait a minute, my years are my experience. And I see so many people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s and think they should have arrived someplace, like they should have figured it out already. And, I'm almost 80, and I'm just beginning to get it. So what's the hurry?
Yeah.
We've got this myth going on out there that you're supposed to get there and know what you're doing and brand yourself and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's really destructive because it keeps people from being satisfied with who they are today. And to me,
my goodness, yes.
To me, if people are afraid to be satisfied because they're afraid if they're satisfied that they'll never have more than they have. But the paradox is the more satisfied you are, the more that you create that satisfies you, because satisfaction becomes your defining emotion rather than longing. Everybody's into this longing thing, and that doesn't satisfy anything.
No, it doesn't. It's funny, in our household, I always laugh because people are always wondering, what I do, because I've done a lot of things in my life, like yourself, and had adventures and stuff. And I always tell them, and I laugh, I said, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. And it's just, I have so many things that, it's not that I lack satisfaction, because I'm so satisfied in everything I do, but I always think there's always so many more adventures to go on and so many things to learn and to explore and just to do in life before I feel like I'm done on this earth. And so I do as many things as I can because I just want to do it.
Right, and that to me is good motivation. But when you feel you have to achieve on a certain level, I mean, I had a business in the 1980s. It was a crystal business. I was the first person to market crystals and minerals for healing and meditation nationwide. I had a line of stones called Joan stones that were in 600 stores, and I made a lot of money. I was bringing in today's money over $50,000 a month. And I went bankrupt because I didn't know how to manage money. I didn't know how to manage cash flow. I knew how to enjoy the money, but I didn't know how to manage cash flow. So I've seen what happens when a lot of money comes in, and how high I get, and that it's harder for me to make really great decisions when I'm overwhelmed with income. But I really saw that making a lot of money was not the greatest goal, and that prosperity had more to do with how you feel about your life than what you've achieved.
Yes.
And so for me, it became the feelings that mattered. In other words, people set these smart goals. What do you want to achieve by X date, and how are you going to measure it? And to me, setting feeling goals is more important. What do you want to feel like, and do you know how to feel that? Do you want to feel satisfied, and do you know how to feel that? Do you want to feel loved, and do you know how to feel that? That was one I had to really work on. So I think we need to help people understand how to recognize the emotions that are behind their creations, because every decision that you make has an emotional component. And once you can understand, and for women, this is actually easier than for men, once you understand the emotions, and you understand that the emotions are habits that you learned in early childhood. It's not who you are. It's not who you have to be. But you learned them in early childhood. And if there was any kind of abuse, neglect, trauma of any kind, we respond to that as children, and our emotional habits are set by the time we're 6. And you can say, okay, when I'm reacting to an authority figure today, how does that relate to how I reacted to my parents? Are my expectations based on how I was treated as a child? And once you're aware on that level, then you can make a different kind of decision as to not what you want to do, but who you want to be.
Oh, I love that. That is so powerful. So powerful. Okay, so Joan, I'm going to ask you one other thing today. How can our ladies, I know that you say that you do webinars, you were mentioning, and you have courses. Is there a way that our listeners can get involved with some of that? Can they take some of your webinars? How can they get a hold of you? Please let us know.
Just go to prosperityplace.com, and if you sign up for anything there, then you get my emails, and I tell you what's going on. I don't send out a whole lot of emails. And like I have a course coming up. I just finished a group a while back, and I'm starting another one called Heal Your Money Shame and End Under Earning. In other words, my goal is to help people get their emotions out of their money.
Oh, that's perfect. Definitely in today's society, we need that.
Right.
And what a great thing to start the 2019 off on a positive note.
Right, and there's so much shame out there, particularly for women. I know in my family, men were more important than women. And so many women carry the shame of being a woman. I mean, it comes from our culture. And once you can understand what's going on there, then you can shift it.
And I think that's important, because there is, and I guess over the years too, I've learned, I've interviewed people, and a lot of the women, it was hard for them to change that mindset, in that it was okay for them to earn the money or make the money they were making. A lot of them self-sabotaged themselves because of that. And I always think it's amazing, and it's very inspiring when we have wonderful guests like you, Joan, on our show, and that you can talk to these women, that you can share your journey and your story with them, you can support them, and you can help them grow in their journeys. Because I think that's the thing is when we can lock arms with one another and we can learn from one another, we grow, we all grow. I think from this show, I have grown so much as an individual, and it's because of all the amazing guests that have come onto the show that I've really done that.
All right, and I agree with you. we can't do this alone. Humans are not meant to be alone. They're tribal animals that need each other. And when the shame gets in the way, that's what keeps us from connecting on a really authentic level.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Joan, for being my guest today. It was such a pleasure. I want to welcome you to our Diva family. I hope that you will come back on our show again.
Anytime. I love to do this. This is my favorite thing to do.
I love that. Well, that's amazing. Oh, and thank you. And I know that you've got a podcast too. So for all of our listeners, I'm going to be posting all of Joan's social media links on our social media links so that you're able to connect with her and listen to her show. She has books out there. She's got webinars. She's got courses, you name it. And we definitely want to learn from this amazing diva. She's got a lot of experience. She's got a lot of knowledge. And it's just going to be wonderful to learn from her. So thank you again, Joan, for coming on as our amazing guest, especially to end off the amazing 2018 that the Divas That Care Network has had. We want to thank you very much for coming on today.
And it's certainly my pleasure, and I wish everybody a wonderful 2019.
Thank you. And thank you to all of our guests. Make sure that you check out our website at divasthatcare.com. You can check out all of our recorded shows and check out all of our amazing divas and our hosts out there. Thank you again for tuning in today. Thank you to our amazing diva today. And I hope that every one of you has an amazing rest of your 2018 and you have a fantastic 2019. Take care, everybody. Until next time. Bye-bye.